All right, for task 2, 0, this part of the submission will not be scored, but it is information you should include regarding your instructional choices. So this 0 part is your way of getting some background information, really. The first 0 text box is using that contextual information that you did in task 1 and answering these questions again. Describe your classroom, who are the students in there, what are some factors that might impact your instruction. Just tell the grader about your classroom again. You will be repeating the same information from task 1, and that is okay. You just want to paint a picture of your classroom, focusing on anything that might be relevant to your instruction. If you have a high ELL population, you want to talk about that. If your students, if you have students who are pulled out for reading and that impacts the rest of the class in some way, or if you have a large portion of students that are on an IEP that you have to take into consideration. Any of those things need to be discussed in that 0 text box, along with uploading a lesson plan. And remember, this is the lesson plan that you are going to teach between your baseline data pre-assessment and your assessment that you've created. So the lesson plan needs to be targeted to whatever content your post-assessment that you've already decided your post-assessment will be. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be a 3-day activity. It can be any lesson, any activity, any center, any small group, anything that you and your mentor teacher are working on right now. Do not make this something that is outside of what you're already doing in your classroom. Try to make it fit into what you're doing right now. So task 0, tell me about your classroom, write a lesson plan. You will also need to write 2 additional lesson plans, but all you need to change in those 2 additional lesson plans are specifically what you will do for Focus Student 1 and Focus Student 2. So thinking ahead after your baseline data and choosing your 2 focus students, you will modify the section of your lesson plan that talks about accommodations and specifically refer to Focus Student 1 and Focus Student 2 and how you've changed the lesson for those 2 students in particular. So for example, if your 2 focus students are one that is in a gifted program and that is accelerated, and another one that is kind of at the lower end and that struggles in class, but may not be on an IEP, but they're still struggling. So you've got 2 focus students. In your lesson plan, when you modify that for those students, you might have Focus Student 1, when they finish, they have an enrichment activity they're going to do, or you might give them a different article to read that would be more challenging, or have them take whatever they're doing to the next level in some kind of situational word problem or whatever. So how are you going to challenge that student who is excelled? And then for Focus Student 2, the one who is struggling, what specific accommodations and modifications will you put into place in the lesson plan for that specific student for this specific lesson? Not generic ideas about SPED modifications, but very specific. Focus Student 2 needs a graphic organizer and more time because he takes longer to process. So you want to make sure that you talk about what specific modifications you'll make for those 2 focus students. So 1 lesson plan, but with 2 additional modifications for Focus Student 1 and Focus Student 2.